Greetings, esteemed colleagues. In this video, we will discuss the most critical developments of the past 4 hours. We have an abundance of pertinent information. Let us commence. We will begin with Kyiv, as numerous highly significant reports are emanating from that sector. The start of the heating season in Kyiv has been postponed. Central heating may not be restored to residences until mid-December. Furthermore, intelligence suggests that the Russian Federation is executing a rapid strike operation designed to plunge Ukraine into darkness. As winter approaches, massive airstrikes are being directed against power grids, central heating systems, and gas supply infrastructure. The primary objective is to disrupt industrial operations and instigate mass migration and panic. Russian capabilities and tactics are evolving faster than Ukrainian air defense. Consequently, I assess that the paramount objective is the provocation of mass immigration and panic. Russian forces are predominantly striking the central and eastern portions of Ukraine. All these attacks on critical infrastructure may compel Ukrainians to commence migration from eastern and central Ukraine toward the western regions. This could result in the complete abandonment and depopulation of the central and eastern territories of Ukraine. By this means, the Russian forces can establish a significant gap between Ukrainian population centers and the line of combat engagement. While some inhabitants will likely remain in this area, they will most probably be very elderly individuals who possess no assets in western Ukraine and cannot secure employment or similar opportunities, and thus will stay. However, these individuals will likely be incapable of providing support to the Ukrainian forces along the line of combat engagement. This gap could potentially become a turning point in the entire special military operation, as the Ukrainian defense and front line, as well as the line of combat engagement, will likely collapse rapidly without the provision of even civil services to the Ukrainian forces by the civilian population. Now, let us discuss another massive unmanned aerial vehicle (UAV) attack that transpired within the last 12 hours. According to our available data, Ukraine executed strikes deep into Russian territory. Sources reported dozens of UAVs heading in the direction of Moscow. Russian forces reported their air defense systems were engaged. Many UAVs were destroyed, but some managed to reach their intended targets, and numerous explosions and conflagrations were reported within the territory of Moscow. However, the principal target of the Ukrainian strikes was Belgorod and the Belgorod Dam. As a reminder, we began discussing this situation yesterday, today, and late last night. Ukrainian forces continue to target the Belgorod Dam. Following the impact of Ukrainian missiles, bombers, and UAVs on the Belgorod Reservoir Dam, the spillway began releasing water, resulting in a substantial drop in the water level. The video provided is from the dam itself. As you can observe, the dam sustained damage from what appeared to be hammer missiles and UAVs. It will likely take time for the Russian forces to effect repairs, and the water level will evidently decrease. Sources indicate the water is moving in a southern direction, meaning from the Belgorod Reservoir toward the city of Vovchansk. This is the projected path of the water flow. According to our available information, all these territories may be affected by this situation. As we can observe, all these territories are situated between Belgorod and Vovchansk, where Russian forces are continuing their offensive operation. I cannot state with certainty whether this situation can halt the Russian advance, but it can clearly decelerate the Russian offensive in this region. Nonetheless, frankly, it appears that Russian forces are on the verge of concluding the battle for the populated area of Vovchansk. Today, several pro-Ukrainian resources and sources have adjusted their maps, marking further progress on the ground. Furthermore, some pro-Russian sources reported that the populated area of Sinelnikov was seized by Russian forces today. It is possible that the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm this information within the coming days or hours. Moreover, according to our data, Russian forces have managed to significantly improve their positions within the territory of the city of Vovchansk. Video footage was published this morning by pro-Russian sources, depicting a Russian serviceman raising a flag in the western part of the populated area of Vovchansk. We have not adjusted anything based on this video, as these territories were colored in Russia's favor long ago, based on prior geolocation. However, this further substantiates the strong positions held by Russian forces within Ukrainian territory. We await further developments. Nevertheless, it is highly probable that Russian forces will retaliate and execute another massive missile and UAV strike against Ukraine's critical infrastructure targets in the coming days. We will now discuss the situation on the Zaporizhia direction. Additional changes have been recorded over the preceding 12 hours. Just prior to the commencement of this video recording, several sources reported that Russian forces managed to establish full control over the populated area of Yehorivka. We await video confirmation. It will most likely be published by the Vostok group of forces. Additionally, Russian forces have claimed they established full control over the populated area of Privilnya, which remains on the Russian side of the Yanchul River. We await another video, and based on it, we will most likely adjust the map or similar actions. Sources also report that Russian forces managed to conclude the engagement for the populated area of Novomykolaivka, situated southeast of the populated area of Uspanivka. We are awaiting video confirmation. Some sources report that the videos have already been published. We await them on certain known channels, after which we will adjust the map. Thus, if this data is confirmed, it is merely the beginning of the end for the Uspanivka fortified area, and Ukrainian forces will commence withdrawal from this territory within the coming days, possibly even hours. Now, let us transition to discussing the situation in the vicinity of the city of Pokrovsk. We will first discuss its western flank. Today, several pro-Russian sources reported that Russian forces succeeded in establishing full control over the Pokrovska mine. The area in question is precisely this territory. This depicts the situation as of the end of 26 October 2025, and this depicts the situation as of the start of 27 October. The mine has been seized by Russian forces, a strategically vital position. Ukrainian forces will now be compelled to withdraw further north toward the populated area of Serhiivka, and Russian forces will likely continue the offensive further north toward the same populated area. Next, we will discuss the situation within the city of Pokrovsk itself. We are receiving an increasing number of significant reports. First, let us discuss the progress on the ground. Today, several pro-Russian sources reported that Russian forces managed to establish full control over the eastern part of the populated area of Myrnorad. This illustrates how the map developed in previous days. This is the situation as of 24 October. This is the situation by the end of 25 October. And this is the situation by the start of 27 October. Several pro-Russian sources reported that Russian forces responded to shelling in the eastern and northeastern parts of the populated area of Myrnorad. Ukrainian forces no longer maintain their positions. They are now attempting to locate only one viable option: how to withdraw from Myrnorad Pokrovsk with minimal casualties. This, however, is clearly an unattainable objective. Furthermore, Russian forces have consolidated their positions in the southeastern part of Myrnorad. The Russian offensive in this sector began on or around 20 October, and every day we have been heating this territory with the Russian fever. Consequently, Ukrainian forces are now approaching the south of the Myrnorad citadel, but will most likely be unable and unwilling to remain there for an extended period. We project that within the next 2 days, they will break out from this citadel further in a northwesterly direction toward the populated areas of Rivne and Svitla to draw as close as possible to the last evacuation route and hold positions there. The predicament, however, is that the main evacuation road is under complete Russian control. We are referring to the settlement of Rodinsky. Therefore, Ukrainian forces will withdraw from all sectors of the Myrnorad Pokrovsk agglomeration by a certain time, by a certain day. And on that day, Ukrainian forces will attempt to commit everything at their disposal to restoring control over the settlement of Rodinska. Over the preceding 24 hours, for instance, Ukrainian forces managed to improve their positions in this area. They are currently attempting to blockade the populated area of Rodinsky and afford the Ukrainian forces an opportunity to exit the Pokrovsk pocket. This information regarding Ukrainian successes is provided by Ukrainian sources. Let us examine this in greater detail. By the close of 26 October 2025, Ukrainian forces managed to restore control over the southern part of the populated area of Suketska. I must remind you that yesterday, the President of the Russian Federation reported to the Commander-in-Chief of Russian Forces, Valery Gerasimov, that Russian forces should anticipate counterattacks from Ukraine with the objective of deblocking the contingent within the Pokrovsk agglomeration territory. By the start of 27 October, Ukrainian forces managed to further solidify their positions. They recaptured the populated areas of Suketska and Zatishak. This is reported by pro-Ukrainian sources. This is the map they provided. Ukrainian forces will now attempt to sever Rodinska and potentially fully retake the town. This would enable them to deblockade the contingent and conduct a successful evacuation. Moreover, Ukrainian forces are continuing counterattacks along the line of contact involving the villages of Ivanivka, Novoshakovo, and Vilna. Here, they also managed to retake a portion of their previous positions. Additionally, Ukrainian forces succeeded in establishing another pocket for Russian forces south of the populated area of Kucheriv Yar. Once again, I draw your attention to the fact that all the news we are currently discussing was provided by pro-Ukrainian sources, without any accompanying evidence. We have not seen a single video confirming the situation they have described. We are discussing this situation because these specific reports provided by pro-Ukrainian sources are likely worthy of our attention, given the certain degree of credibility associated with the information provided by these sources. Frankly, however, we harbor doubts regarding all this data furnished by pro-Ukrainian sources, and we prefer to await further reports before a more complete clarification of the situation. Let us proceed. Regarding the Siversk-Lyman direction, Russian forces continue their offensive. An increasing number of reports and updates are emerging from the city of Lyman. Sources indicate that the situation is exceptionally complex and that Russian forces are preparing to launch a large-scale offensive aimed at a complete breakthrough of the Ukrainian defense. Regarding the Kupiansk direction, according to our data, the commander of this group of forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Drapati, has issued an order for Ukrainian forces to begin withdrawing from their positions. It is highly probable that Ukrainian forces will attempt to evacuate from the Kupiansk agglomeration in the coming days, and we will witness the same situation currently observed in the Pokrovsk area. This concludes our report, esteemed colleagues. We reiterate our condemnation of all violence globally, and we urge all parties to commence immediate negotiations and resolve all issues through diplomatic channels. Thank you for viewing. Please subscribe to the channel and leave your likes. We wish you all the best.